Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
What 25 years of parenting taught us about love, grace, and growth. Listen and find out.
Let's talk about love and marriage the way that God intended. Life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. Will help your spirit transform.
Hello, family. Welcome back to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast with Maurice and Kafa.
Yo.
We are here today talking about parenting because that's what we are. We're parents forever. So we're talking about what parenting has taught us about love, about grace, and about growth. So there's so much that we've learned about each other. We've learned about our children. We've learned about parenting. And we're going to share a little bit of our thoughts with you. So Maurice. How you doing, baby?
I'm okay.
Great. So what are some of the things that you've learned about parenting?
So one thing that I've learned is actually a few things, but there's something that I had to understand. It just happened a couple nights ago. We, Kafa and I. For those of you who've been listening, you might have heard me say this, that, hey, I have these moments where we need to sit down and talk, right? And sometimes people are into it, sometimes people aren't. But sometimes there are some things that we need to discuss as a family and know where we're going as a family. And so in that conversation, I took a moment to say I apologize for the way for the representation or the lack thereof I might have played in their lives, growing up. And so, and I apologize because there are some things that I see where I'm like, yo, wow, that bad habit is me. Wait a second. The way they're responding, oh, wow, that's me. Like I'm looking in the mirror. And it's like, and I see where their trajectory could be. I'm like, oh, wow, like I don't want them to go down that path. Everybody got to learn on their own. You get what I mean? And all I could do is just, hey, here's a little tidbit. I can't tell them what to do, but hey, here's a tidbit. Here's what I see. Because you're a little different, you're gonna handle it a little differently than I would anyway to begin with. But maybe not go down that path, But one of the things that I really wanted them to get out of that is, hey, Dad is not so high and mighty that he can't sit here and say he's sorry, that he apologizes, and so, some of us have not been able to see that in our life, right? There's a lot of people that don't get the parental, hey, I apologize, I'm sorry, but not just say it, but explain it.
Right.
They'll be like, well, I'm sorry. Well, but what are you sorry about? Like, name it. Like, give it a name or give it a face or something. I don't care if it's just a hair follicle. It's just something, right? But I think I took the time to say to both of them directly, this is what I see, and this is who I was in that space. I was, so it wasn't like, hey, you're totally wrong and you need to do X, Y, and Z. It was, here's what I see what the situation is, but I see how I played a role in that, and how the reason why we're in some of these situations is because of that attitude right there. It's because of those actions right there, that I have not necessarily realized some of my dreams and aspirations because of where you are. And I get to see that was a detriment to who I am today.
Yeah.
It played a role in that. So, when we're talking about one of the things that we've learned in 25 years of parenting, let alone 25 years of marriage, that because Conference said something about love, grace, and growth. And I really wanted to kind of go backwards. Because as she said it, I'm like, do I want to talk about love first or do I want to talk about growth? I want to talk about growth that turns into love, right? Mentality,
But I think the example that you just gave with talking to the kids and expressing and pointing out, hey, this is where I went wrong. And, I apologize for that. And, it was, it was a family meeting and I did likewise. I apologized for my misdoings and my wrongdoings towards them and how I can see how that hindsight could have created frustration in them and how hindsight that wasn't the best representation of myself or the best thing for me to do. But I think that was love and that they're going to provide us with some grace. And then that allows our family to grow. So I like the way that this is set up, with
and that's fine.
Love, grace, and growth that, yes, after the growth, then it just becomes cyclical. You know what I mean? Then there's more love that pours out. And because there is love, we can provide grace. I think those things go together. And then with all of that, those two equal out or lead towards more growth. So, yeah, I don't know that we grow right away. I think it's some other things that happen to make us grow.
Yes.
You have to plant that seed of love. You have to, I was always talking about seeds, and Maurice is always talking about the man in the mirror. So, you have to look at the man in the mirror to see love. But when you see it, you have to have grace about what you see.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then with that grace, you become more loving of what you see and appreciative of what you have. And that allows you to grow more, So I kind of like the way that, things are set up, and or at least that's how I see it, that you meeting with them and you talking with the family, that's love. That's the way you express your love that way. And, like you said, sometimes those meetings get to be long and we have to provide you with that grace. But you have to give us grace as well. Like, all right, we're going to give you a little bit, and then we can meet another time, and I can give you a little bit more. Right. And we can grow that way. But, so, I think that's wonderful that you've shared all of that and are at that point to apologize. And I think a lot of parents need to think about that. I know we do in relationships, and that's one of the things that relationships coaches, talk about is listening and apologizing when things are wrong. Like that's one of the big things that you can do is apologize for things that may have gone the wrong way. And sometimes it's not even things that you do wrong, but just like we were talking the other night and you used a word and I was like, that kind of hurt my feelings. But I had enough love to share and I had enough comfortability to share that that word kind of didn't sit right with me. You know what I mean? And you were graceful and gracious enough to receive that and say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it in that way. This is, what I meant by it, and we were able to grow in that relation, in that conversation. Like I wasn't stuck on like, oh, that word, like, and that can build up bitterness and whatnot. But because I was comfortable enough and loving enough to say, babe, like, I didn't agree with that word that you said or that phrase. Can you, hear where I'm coming from that? I'm not saying that you have to change it, but I just want you to know that it wasn't kind. And I think as our children become older, that's my prayer, that they'll be able to be comfortable to say, hey, parents, like, this wasn't comfortable for me. And our son has done that a few times, like, hey, parents, like, you said this or have done this and it didn't feel good or whatever. And we're able to look at it and say, oh, okay, that's your opinion. And we give grace, and we grow from that, because even recently in conversations we've had, I'm noting how I use my words so that I don't say the things that were pointed out in previous conversations that, hey, these are things that I don't like when you say these things,
right.
Or whatnot, or just being cautious of it, or, being able to explain why I'm using those words. So I think that's some of the things that parenting has taught me is communication, and just, yeah.
And so my thoughts on that, like, I'm listening to what you're saying. Do you believe that you are concentrating on something that you might not have received as a kid yourself?
Do I concentrate on it? I don't. I think it times I have of providing things like, okay, I didn't have these things and I wanted those things maybe as a child, or I wanted those things as an adult to provide for my child, not knowing why. Maybe it was an outside influence of some sort. So I think there are some things, yes, that I do focus on.
So I'm going to use the overarching idea, which is, and I'm coming from having a conversation with a family member, again, not too long ago, where it seems like communication might not have always been the greatest.
Correct.
And like you're stating, you're picking and choosing words to ensure that your communication skills are at a certain level.
Yes.
Right? But are you being too guarded in that situation? Or are you being free in that situation? And is that something that you might have been missing as a child? Versus, like myself, where I'm saying, hey, like, I'm making sure that I am coming back and say, you know what? I understand that might have hurt your feelings and I apologize. I see what my actions, how it have affected you, and I apologize. Again, subconsciously concentrating on something that I kind of wish would have happened as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's why I'm asking you the same question. Do you think that what you're speaking on, that you're putting forth effort into, is that one of the main things that you feel like you missed as a child?
I don't know if it's one of the main things I missed as a child, being communication. I do know that because my family dynamic now rests on communication a little bit. And I know that growing up, I did not have that.
Mm-hmm.
We were, it was, everybody's kind of in their own zone in some degree.
Right.
Yes, I don't remember, hey, let's all get together and talk. We may have gotten together and looked at a movie or something else, but it wasn't, let's just talk about something general or something specific to one's life. So that part is different, but I would say a lot of that comes from you. I think you sparked that. I think you continue to push that as an agenda and as a part of who our family is. Now, was that something that you had and continue on as a legacy, as a
it's
tradition?
Something that I didn't have that type of communication like how we have it right now. I didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, even though I started relatively while they were in high school having that type of conversation, of like, hey, because unfortunately, that's when I started feeling really off in high school.
You felt off about them or felt off?
I'm sorry, me personally.
In your youth.
Yes. I started feeling off, and because, for me, it wasn't until high school when I started with another viewpoint, another perspective. You start having other types of, you're having different types of friends, and you're starting to look at how they live and what their expectations are and how they maneuver through life and all those type of things. And now you're like, oh, wow, are we doing it? Is it right? And now you're questioning what's going on. And so now your viewpoint changes, right? And so, did I have the communication to the point of where I have it with my children today? Heck no.
Okay.
Nowhere near it. Not in the level that I do it at, but also coming from the perspective of, like, it's one thing to tell somebody to do something, but without explaining it or breaking it down, because and I'll use this as an example, y'all. So if I said, kids, go upstairs and clean your room. Now, you're a certain age, you go upstairs and clean your room, you might stomp your feet, all that type of stuff. And it's like, do as I say mentality, right? But Kafa will come and say, well, kids, I would like for you to do your room because of, and I used to get frustrated with that. I did. Because no, we told them to do something, they need to get up and do it. Now, granted, there are two sides of that. Understanding that, hey, if you work a 9 to 5, if you go to the bank, if you go to the market, people are going to tell you to do something without giving you an explanation. That's life, right? That is pure life. No, you cannot come into my store without a shirt on. You can't come in here with your crusty feet, right? Vibe, right? Or I need this report done by 12 o'clock. They don't have to, your supervisor don't have to give you an explanation as to why I need it done. You just need to get that crap done, or you just won't be employed here anymore. That's life, right? So there were some times where I still employed that mentality, where Kafa was like, hey, here is why we would like for you to clean up your room. Now, there's a part that I had to learn in this where you said about the grace, love, and growth. I'm sorry, I said it all backwards again. but the thing is that if you have a healthy concern and or your lifestyle was, we had bugs, roaches. I mean, we deal with crickets, spiders, whatever it is, and you got stuff all over the floor. So what they call silverfish, whatever it is, and so pill bugs, whatever it is that you're dealing with. Do you want all that stuff mixed up in all your clothes? Now, sometimes you can't help it, if they crawl in your drawer, like you can't help where a bug is going to go. You get what I mean? Not 100%. Ants. I'm sorry, my mind is going crazy with the bug thing. But if you can't help it, right? But if you can try to make sure that your stuff is nice and neat and organized and as clean as possible. Children, this is the reason why we would like for you to clean up your room, because we also understand that it affects your mental health. Not just cleanliness physically, but cleanliness from a mental, emotional, and even spiritual space, because cleanliness is next to godliness, right?
It doesn't say that anywhere, but go ahead.
I know, right? But that's
what we were told. Yes.
Right. So I think those are some of the things that I know I've had to understand, and why I've been saying to Kafa lately, like the dynamic that she and I have. Yes, I'm an April baby, she's an October baby, and we are literally on both sides of any coin. Like, it doesn't matter what the situation is, we are real life opposites. But here's the reality of that. It's such a strength that it almost feels like if anything would come up against us, we have it covered, because we're able to see it from both sides, literally. And so when it comes to parenting, we get to see that, because if we were, and I'm gonna use the whole zodiac thing, because a lot, people go into that whole zodiac sign thing, and hey, we're compatible or whatever else, and we're fire signs, we're so compatible because we think this way, that whatever. So imagine we both thought the same exact way. What would that life be like?
Yeah.
It would not be it could feel fun, but there'll be a whole lot of stuff we'd be missing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to parenting, yes, it could come off as like, yo, that's weird. Like, y'all don't agree on anything? No, we do agree. It's just the way we verbalize it. It can appear that we don't agree.
We both think the house needs to be cleaned.
Right.
But he's like, hey, clean the house and get it done, or you can't do anything else. You can't eat, you can't go outside, whatever. And I'm like, clean the house because this is where we live. This is where we reside. I want to sleep better. I want to, it feels good to lay on clean sheets. I don't know about anybody else,
right?
But a nice set of clean sheets just feels good.
It does. Mm-hmm.
I like certain things a certain way. And that may have come off quite selfish now that you're saying it and I'm listening to you. I'm like, wow, it's selfish. But at the end of the day, I was just trying to instill certain things in them.
And I don't want you to be that hard on yourself where you say it's selfish.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that. But again, and I think, when I said something about communication earlier,
yes.
Right? So our children did not grow in the same environment that we grew up in.
Right.
And you and I, even though we grew up in Philly, even where we grew up at was still different,
mm-hmm.
right? Those of you who are from Philly know that all of Philly is not exactly the same.
No.
But we all can relate to very similar situations, though, right? And so, but because of you have, and I don't know how deep I want to go into this, but you got some people that you used to say on the block that were dirty, right?
Mm.
But was it necessarily that they were necessarily dirty themselves, or was it just for whatever reason the colony of ants or roaches was just outside their door and it just kept coming in their house,
mm-hmm.
right? Is it, but here's the thing. That was that one house. Houses on either side of them, what were they doing to even have those type of bugs come into their crib? So that's the thing that we don't always, again, we kids, right? We don't know that this family over here have exterminators coming in every, 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Now that you're older and you're an adult, you realize like, oh, wow, if I use this bug spray, it works pretty well. It will lessen my bug attendance in my house.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So hey kids, I don't want to live in that space. So that's why I'm saying to you, I don't think it was selfish. It is, hey, y'all didn't have, because of my experience, I fought against it. I keep fighting against it. I'm concerned about it, i.e., like for me, because of our mouse challenges sometimes, you wake up in the morning, oh yeah, I'm going to have me an egg sandwich. You turn the bread over. You open up the bread. All right, got my bread out. You flip it over, you realize the mouse has been all up in your bread. How many of y'all have been through that situation?
Not me.
I have.
Now, I've been in the supermarket where I was about to buy a loaf of bread. And that happened. I think, bought a bread. It wasn't bread. It was rice cakes. I had a taste for rice cakes. And I brought them home, and I went to get one, and like you said, the mouse had chewed through part of the bot, and I took it back, and of course I got a refund. And she's like, "You want to get another one?" I was like, "No, because if it chewed through one,
right,
I'm not going back. No. So, but I haven't had that experience. Again, I lived in apartments,
right?
So they were exterminating all the time. So I didn't have those issues. Even in the times when I didn't live in apartments, I don't remember that being an issue. But yeah, but again, 25 years. Well, we're not quite at 25 years of parenting, but just
We're
being a
knocking
parent,
on the door.
just parenting, period. You know, it has taught us so much.
And I'll put it like this. Maybe not 25 years of parenting where one that you birthed,
Okay.
but we have other God kids and whatever else that are 25 plus. So,
It's true.
you know, so yeah, so I guess depending on what
I guess in that case, I'm like a God grandparent. But yes. So, you know, I think as a parent, you learn so much, not only from your own parenting experiences, but you learn from your kids as they go through life. You grow in love and you grow in grace.
Right.
So, there's a lot of growth going on.
Oh, it is.
As your family grows, you grow as well. So I thank you all for growing with us and sticking with us. We thank you for your just listening again to another wonderful episode of the No Fruit Podcast. Share in the comments, you know, what challenges and what ways you have grown as a parent. We would love to hear from you. Because what you share helps us to grow. So please share your information, your story with us in the comments and in email form. We would love to hear from you. And again, thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you in the next episode.
And I'm going to go grow and go eat me some potato chips.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. We hope today's discussion left you feeling uplifted, encouraged, and ready to take on life's journey with purpose. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. You can catch up on past episodes, send us your thoughts, or learn more about us on social media. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow. Take care, and we'll see you next time.